Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Talk, the EMEA Challenge, Overcoming Microsoft Support Gaps with US Cloud. This event was organized by the hardworking folks at Redmond Magazine, and it's sponsored by US Cloud, the world's only independent third-party provider of a full replacement for Microsoft Premier and Unified Support. I'm John K. Waters, Editor-in-Chief in the Converge 360 Group of 1105 Media, and I'm joined today by Jeff Stone, Senior Technical Account Manager at US Cloud, and former IT Services Cluster Owner at global security company Dormakaba. Hi, Jeff. How's it going?
Hi, John. Yeah, all good. Thanks. Looking forward to our discussion today about how to maximize the benefit of US Cloud.
You're in the UK. Do I have that right?
I'm based in the UK. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. You're in the belly of the beast then when we talk about this stuff. Let's see. Before we talk about the unique challenges companies in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa face when it comes to navigating Microsoft's unified support model, let's define what that model is. I should say, let's you define what that model is.
Okay. Yeah, John, not a problem at all. So, Microsoft Unified Support contract is a comprehensive enterprise level support model that was introduced by Microsoft 3 or 4 years ago, and the change away from the Premier Support Service. It's designed to assist organizations in managing and optimizing their use of the Microsoft technologies, predominantly focused at the cloud, but also includes on-prem solutions as well. And it covers all of their products and services that fall underneath the Microsoft umbrella. It is a total replacement for the old, more traditional Premier Support model that Microsoft used to offer to its customers. And it's a unified approach to addressing the wide range and scope of IT solutions that Microsoft surfaces to their customers today.
But do you have any idea what prompted that change? What was Microsoft thinking? I'm not, you're not a mind reader, but what do you suppose they were thinking about that?
It tried to standardize everything underneath one umbrella agreement, so that it's almost like a one-stop shop, and there's not. It took away any variations or flexibility within inside the original contract. So this is a bundled package, and it's the bundled package that customers take on board if they take the service directly from Microsoft.
Now, I know that not everyone is thrilled with this change. What would you say are the key criticisms of this model?
My experience is that my last organization that I worked for, we saw an increase of costs at a massive level. We're talking over 250%. Over what we were originally planning for Premier Support. It's a standardized approach, as we just talked about. So the ability for flexibility to be able to structure what you want to select from an organization point of view, that's not there within inside the new structure of the ongoing structure of the unified contract today. The response times that we saw in talking with other customers that have taken unified approach in their support model, support time is slow, the response time is slow, and we also face, and this was a Premier Support issue, as well as what we've talked about with other clients that still are with Microsoft from a unified point of view, the time zone from an EMEA customer point of view is a big challenge, because a lot of the product groups are based within inside America, and if you've got a problem that's coming through, you've got to wait at least half a day until you can start to genuinely talk to somebody who knows the solution and the platform that you've got your particular issue with.
That sounds debilitating.
It led to an awful lot of frustrations, especially when you're just waiting and knowing that the product group are due to come online. and they're not going to be within inside your time zone, and they're not really going to engage. And it also depends on the scale of the outage that you're seeing as to when somebody will get to your ticket as well. So there was never a guarantee, because it doesn't have SLAs within inside the contract, and when we would actually genuinely talk to somebody that could start to help remedy or identify the issue that we were facing at that point in time.
That must have been brutal for operations, companies running 24/7. It just, that must have been, that must have been one of the deal breakers, one of the things that made them want to jump ship.
Exactly. When you've got a production line that is dependent upon the information being fed maybe into plant machinery, and the process has stopped because we've got a kink within inside the infrastructure that we cannot resolve internally, and we're dependent upon Microsoft to come and help and support. Maybe it's a back-end problem within inside the information flow. Then you've got an awful lot of your management team and your senior management team where the focus swivels round onto your engagement and the selection of the processes and the design model that you've introduced into the organization as to why are we experiencing this and why is it taking so long to get the issue that we're facing resolved.
So this standardized approach, all due respect to Redmond, benefited them, but not so much their customers.
Yeah, the challenges that we saw with inside that standardized approach is that the contract had elements that we could not, from an organizational point of view, and my previous organization was in manufacturing, where we've got a lot of plant-based process, we've got a lot of people that are actively working with machinery. We have a service division that goes out to site to fix equipment. One of the things that's within inside the unified contract is the ability for all of your employees to make use of the learning platform from Microsoft. That's great if you're a tech house and that's your focus. Yeah. In the manufacturing world, we probably would have less than 10% of our employees that will make benefit out of something like that. But the scope is that everybody has access to it. If you try and break it down into a cost element, it doesn't really stack up with what my last organization really required from a support contract. Yeah, the Premier support contract really did align with exactly what the requirement was for designing a support and service organization. Unified is too heavy for my last organization, maybe a little bit too cumbersome. And as we talked about before, definitely too expensive.
Mm-hmm. I suppose tough to actually meet the SLAs, the service level agreements, if they promise specific response windows, but because of the time zone gap, they can't. The value of the SLA is really reduced. Do I have that right?
Yeah. We as we previously talked about, we did repeatedly face that challenge with. We would put in a call for maybe an incident with one of our colleagues that's based within inside the US. Because the ticket was originating from within inside EMEA, they would assign an EMEA engineer to our case because that's where the portal was based. They wouldn't really read the details of what the ticket content was. So we would be assigned an EMEA engineer. By time we managed to establish the communication with the EMEA engineer, they would then say, we need to do an over-the-shoulder view or a shared screen session with the impacted colleague. Mm-hmm. Then you've got to reach out to the colleague and you find that you're trying to manage everybody's diary at the same time just to coordinate a support call. And that's quite onerous when you've got multiple incidents with inside your service delivery team or your service towers taking place at the same time. And it's not a great use of time or resources from an organizational point of view. Can
you share a specific example from your time at Dormakaba?
Yeah, we had an incident not so long ago regarding the Teams platform where we had an impact that affected the organization on a global level. For us, it was a SEV1. We committed to working it 24/7 until its resolution. And we just watched the ticket bounce around inside the Microsoft organization about trying to get the right resource in the right time zone with the right amount of knowledge that would then be able to take the ticket and full responsibility of the ticket and take it forward. For this particular incident, it had to go to the product group to get a resolution. But we spent a long time being a tennis ball being batted, what felt like being batted around the Microsoft organization until we finally landed at the right spot with the right team, with the right knowledge, and the fix took 10 minutes. But to get to that point, we were probably 14 hours into the call.
Oh my God. That must have been fun.
That was not an easy conversation to have with our management team.
Oh my God. So at the end of the day, was there that would have been enough for me, but at the end of the day, was there a specific issue that made you decide that you wanted to make a change from that support model?
We had concerns even for low severity impact tickets. We were repeatedly having to share the same information into the ticket. We were repeatedly being asked to create logs or generate the logs from either from a platform level or from a user level. We were asked questions about information that was already inside the original ticket submission. So a level of frustration really started to heat up regarding the level of support that we were getting from Microsoft. It just felt like we didn't have the right level of engagement and maybe not the right level of knowledge or structure that certainly helped my last organization to be able to easily and relatively quickly resolve any incidents that we were seeing that were coming through from a platform point of view. And that is an indirect impact on our ability to perform, because if we've got a user community that cannot operate, if we've got a particular service that's down, it impacts the amount of revenue that we were able to generate at that time. So our bottom line really was being impacted by the delays that we were seeing that were coming through from Microsoft. That plus the unified contract and the structure of the unified contract and its inflexibility about what you can and what you cannot include inside the contract. That again, it didn't feel like it was a great fit for our requirements that we'd identified, again, coming back to the service tower organization that we were. We had a predefined list of deliverables that we would need from any service provider. And what we were getting from the unified contract was too much. Yeah, it was like you were going into the supermarket and your shopping cart was being filled for you, whether you actually wanted that stuff on the shelf or not. This was being given to you and included inside the price at checkout. And really, what the organisation needed was some flexibility and only actually, the level of service that we really needed to be able to support the company and the organisation on a day-to-day. The rest of it was not necessary from our point of view. If there was additional add-ons that we would need, it would be underneath a project, and we would generate a project which would be funded from a different budget, and then we would deliver that particular topic into the organisation. But we just didn't have that level of flexibility. Plus, as we come back to the 250% increase over premium support, really the return on the investment, we just couldn't justify it internally with our senior management team, with our procurement team, or with our contract management team. It really, everybody had the same opinion that unified really wasn't for Dormakaba.
Okay, so U.S. Cloud, as I said earlier, is the world's only independent third-party provider of full replacement for Microsoft Premier and unified support. But I mean, this is a huge decision. Were there any significant cultural or operational differences that made U.S. Cloud stand out and seem like a safe bet for EMEA organizations?
We had two key deliverables that we earmarked when we made the decision or came to the conclusion that the unified contract really wasn't for dormakaba. And they were quite simple. The first one was that we would like a Premier support type experience. We would like to have access to the Premier support level engineers if we needed to have support where it couldn't be resolved by anybody else and it needed access to the back-end solutions to be able to resolve the particular issue that we were facing at the time. We didn't want to have to start at the bottom of the tree and work our way through a standard ticket process from within inside the Microsoft tenant. So that was criteria one. That was an absolute must-have in any alternative solution that we looked at. And the other one, because dormakaba is a global organization, one of our main criteria or as important as the ability to get the Premier support engineers level engagement was that they were genuinely a 24/7, 365 service delivery team that any point of the day or night that any one of me or my colleagues could pick up a phone, we could report a SEV1 and know that you're not having to get an engineer out of bed, that they're actually switched on. This is their usual working pattern. This is their standard hours of operation. This is absolutely their normal working day, because our investigation, looking at alternatives to the unified, we did talk to 2 or 3 other organizations, but when you started to scratch away at the story or the delivery of their particular service, you knew that you were getting engineers out of bed. And that's not the most comfortable of experiences from a support point of view. We needed that genuine 24/7, 365 support experience. That ticket could be escalated to Microsoft as and when needed, or hopefully actually it would be resolved by the engineering team that you engage with from the start, and you wouldn't need to have your ticket escalated over to Microsoft.
Okay, well that works. But it's still a big jump. And what I'm thinking about is, or is it? Maybe what you could do is, do a little myth busting. Are there any myths about transitioning away from Microsoft Unified that people should know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard this discussion a few times. So really,
here we go.
Will my relationship with Microsoft be impacted by my decision to move away or not renew my unified contract?
Big one.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't mean that your engagement or your account team will disappear and you've got no access into the Microsoft organization at all. Everybody has to have a license spend with Microsoft. There's an account team that definitely will still be managing your environment. If you need additional technology support, if you want to access the fast track environment, that still remains available to you. It's only the support level that gets transitioned away, and obviously the discontinuation of the unified agreement from the start. Everything else that you do and you spend with Microsoft remains in place. And yeah, those conversations, those support organizations, certainly from a sales point of view from Microsoft, they will not disappear from your view, and they will still remain accessible to you going forward as well.
Awesome. Okay, so you made the transition, and you've talked about some things that you were hoping were going to happen. How did U.S. Cloud Support compare? We talked a little bit about this, but I'm sure that dormakaba was happy. What would you say was your experience? Can you give an example of how things changed?
Um, First of all, our response time and resolution time improved dramatically. We were, instead of waiting 2 or 3 days, certainly around the Sev 3, Sev 4 type tickets, that would be 3 to 5, maybe if we were really unlucky, up to 2 weeks before we would get a resolution, especially if the ticket crossed 2 different environments. So if you had a Windows 11 and maybe a Teams issue, and they were not necessarily connected, or maybe the phrasing was not clear, or maybe the investigation wasn't clear from the engagement with Microsoft. But we had a lot of tickets that would start with maybe the Windows 11 team, and then once we started getting into the detail, they say, oh no, that's not us, that needs to go to the Microsoft Teams organization, and the ticket will be transferred across to the Teams organization. They would have a look at it and say, no, this is definitely something to do with Windows 11, and then you go back to the start as well. And that takes time, yeah, from an organizational point of view. That really takes an awful lot of your internal resources. So that's maybe a not easily identifiable or an indirect cost that we had to accommodate and allow inside our support organization from a resourcing point of view. The change over to US Cloud actually meant that the ticket was resolved much quicker than we were seeing from Microsoft. The other added benefit is that if we had exactly that same example where you had a Windows 11 and an MS Teams issue, the engineers that we talked to from US Cloud would talk to each other and collaborate on getting you a solution, so they don't work in isolation from each other and in their silo and say, this is my responsibility and I'm not moving out of it. Inside US Cloud, the engineers talk to each other and they come to a common agreement about what the best next steps would be to resolve the issue. And that, from my perspective, that was really a big game changer in terms of feedback, in terms of engagement, in terms of that collaborative partnership feel, which I never had from Microsoft. I always had the feeling it was, well, yeah, you've got an incident, but we've got 10,000 other incidents that we're working on as well, and you're just a number in a queue. It's a different experience when you go to US Cloud. They really focus on the client, and as I say, they take away some of the real pain points that we were experiencing with Microsoft as well. The other big benefit is that there's no ties to the Microsoft spend. So my understanding is the more that you put into the Azure platform from a serverless environment, then the cost of your unified contract goes up, because the expectation is that you will be raising more support calls with the infrastructure that you just moved into the Microsoft Azure platform. US Cloud, you pay as much or as little as you feel is necessary to support your organization. So if you've got 100 servers and you think that you're going to need X amount of hours of support to keep that up and running, then that's what you pay for. If you think that you've got a project and actually you're on the start of your digitalization journey, and you've got 50 servers up there, but actually on-prem you've got 2,000, from a service delivery point of view, or from a support point of view, if you still only believe, because of the competency of your internal organization and the quality of your support staff, that actually you still only need 100 hours, that's all you need to purchase is 100 hours. There is no, well, you've got X amount of infrastructure now hosted with us, therefore we're going to charge you X amount more for your support that we're expecting to be necessary to support your infrastructure. And that that's not a great feeling as well. Is that you think, well, we're making the investment to move to Microsoft, and now Microsoft are charging us more for making that investment for moving to Microsoft as well. So that is something else that is really good from a customer point of view of US Cloud. It's really down to you to set your own levels, and if you decide that US Cloud is for you, and you find you don't have enough hours, it's not like support stops. You just add more hours as necessary into the agreement, and continue with support the way that it was designed in the first place. So I think that this is, for me, this really was one of the big game changers in our end user experience. Response times as well. I think we talked about this a little bit, but response times or resolution times, it's just much quicker.
And critical. So
absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. From a colleague point of view, so from a resourcing point of view, from all aspects within inside your service delivery organization, the quicker that you can get a ticket closed, the quicker you can get a colleague back to working, the easier and more productive the organization can become.
So you're in a unique position because you've been an end user and you are also now with the company. Now that you are inside US Cloud, can you share, is there any sort of, you don't want to give away the secret sauce, but how does US Cloud, tailor services to fit the unique operational and global business needs, especially with EMEA? I mean, you're right there, and now you're inside. Anything you can share about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, one of the, as we said a few minutes ago, one of our key criteria that we had was really that 24/7 service desk, that it's really part of their shift pattern. It comes with a technical account manager that's got a deep focus and a lot more connected to the client than the Microsoft CSAM experience, certainly from my experience, and that would include the Premier support contracts as well. We've got clear handoffs within inside the organization that allow that interaction. And again, coming back to the engineering point of view, that exchange of information between the engineers to be able to help each other, that is, as I said before, that's a game changer from our point of view. That really does help expedite the speed at which your particular incident is being resolved. We have, at US Cloud, we have engineers that worked for Microsoft with multiple years experience. We've got a partnership program, which means that any solution or any partner that we engage to help support an EMEA-based client has the guarantee that US Cloud own that relationship and are responsible for that relationship. And if there are any issues, then we take that forward from a US Cloud point of view, not from a client point of view, and leaving the client in a not so healthy state. So we own the process from start to finish, and we can have and arrange meetings that are more specifically aligned to EMEA time zones. That helps any project move forward. So if you want a project and project meetings to start at 8 o'clock in the morning for Central European time, US Cloud can deliver that for you and takes the ownership and the responsibility of delivering that support level into the organization. US Cloud are also aware of the GDPR regulations about the security and the compliance around that. The solution is fully GDPR compliant. The data is protected all of the way through. We have had multiple assessments by a lot of our European-based clients, and it's never been an issue with the way that the data is being handled and stored with inside US Cloud for our EMEA-based clients. We have return on investment solutions as well. We have Azure cost management. We have, as I said before, we can assist with projects. We've got one customer that's based within inside EMEA that went through the Azure cost analysis review with our internal team, and they managed to realize a cost saving of around $1.4 million per year just by adopting some of the recommendations that were made as part of that investigation. So it really is something that US Cloud are very good at, and we see all of our clients as a partner rather than just a money resource to support the organization. It really is constructed at a partnership level once you've engaged with US Cloud going forward.
And what kind of feedback are you getting from EMEA businesses that have switched to US Cloud for support now that you're sort of in the catbird seat there?
So the initial one is from the quotation process that we've got. So we have an internal process that looks at the volume of tickets that are being processed underneath the unified contracts and what that would look like from a transition across to a US Cloud organization. And then we offer our clients a quote based upon that. And just about every single client comes back with a comment. They don't really want to play their hands too early with inside the initial discussions, but it transpires later down the line after the partnership is established and the contracts are signed. We're averaging somewhere between 30 and 50% cost savings over what would be spent with inside the unified contract in comparison to Microsoft. So we satisfy not only from a technical point of view and from a service delivery point of view, but we're also helping that conversation with the financial controllers and the finance department. That I think that this is a global target at the moment. That the drive, certainly with inside IT, is to reduce the cost spend as far as possible. And for my last organization, Dawn Macabre, the engagement with US Cloud actually was one of our milestones that we were able to realize a significant reduction in our cost spend from a service delivery point of view.
On a personal note, what made you decide to make the switch, to change your role from outsider to insider, I guess you could say?
I like the company. He's probably the first one. I like the ethos of the people that I spoke with on a daily, weekly, monthly renewal basis. Everybody is focused on trying to deliver the best experience for the client that they can from a Microsoft support standpoint. Everybody understands the impacts of break fix, but we also recognize that the unified contract does give you some additional bells and whistles that are more proactive. We have a proactive organization, as we've alluded to before, that can support projects, that allows that cost, the Azure cost analysis. If you want a chalk and talk session, if you just want some guidance on maybe you're moving to device management with inside Intunes, these are all areas that we can cover from a proactive point of view as well. And the scope and the knowledge that I experienced as a customer was really one of the things that I value myself is trying to reduce the impact on our colleague community, because it's usually the colleague community that generates the revenue for the business itself. And if their infrastructure is working the way that it should do, it means that the business itself can be optimized as far as it possibly can, in terms of it's not IT that's holding anybody back. Yeah, right. or the instability within the IT environment is not one of the key factors that's preventing the business from growing.
Okay, finally, what advice would you give to companies in EMEA currently struggling with unified support, but they're unsure about making the change?
Please contact me, contact our sales team. Again, one of the unique offerings that US Cloud brings to market is that we have a test the water approach. So you can have a proof of concept with US Cloud that can be arranged, that can be aligned with inside our sales organization. So it's almost like try before you buy. You don't have a long-term commitment. One of the challenges when you're responsible for a budget, especially if you're signing up for a long-term agreement, is that agreement really going to deliver everything that I expect it to? And if it doesn't, does that mean that I'm being held into a contract for 12 or 24 months where it's not really meeting my needs? What this allows you to do with inside the proof of concept, it allows you to explore US Cloud's capabilities of what we offer, and allows that dip your toe in the water to see whether this is something that really can work for you guys. And it gives you that level of experience of what it would really look like on a day-to-day basis if you decided to go beyond the POC and move into a full contract with US Cloud. And there are different flavors of contracts that the sales team can talk to anybody about what really suits their direction of travel. And they will always find you a solution that meets your immediate needs and hopefully meets your long-term needs as well.
That's all the questions I've got. Thank you so much, Jeff. I really enjoyed talking with you today.
Thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure.